is inflation. Inflation is the rate of increase in price over a given period of time. Inflation is typically a broad measure, such as the overall increase in price or the increase in the cost of living in a country. Maintaining a low and stable inflation rate has become one of the challenges in the macroeconomic management of most countries. Among others, Malaysia has a very unique experience in terms of inflation. The economy has experienced episodes of high from 1973 to 1974, 1980 to 1981, and low from 1985 to 1987 regimes of inflation, and was able to contain low and stable inflation during the high economic growth period of 1988 to 1996. The objective of this study is to identify important factors that contribute significantly to inflation in Malaysia. This study also aims to examine the possible existence of international and intra-Asian inflation transmission to Malaysia. The analysis is carried out based on the time series approach of multivariate configuration, factor error correction modeling, impulse response functions, and variance decomposition. The empirical result of this study shows that external factors such as exchange rate, the rest of Asian inflation are relatively more important than domestic factors in explaining Malaysia inflation. Malaysia experienced deflation in 2020 as the pandemic severely reduced demand, but inflation picked up starting in 2021 and continued to rise in 2022, largely due to higher commodity price, supply chain disruptions, and increasing demand.
Inflation during COVID-19 in Malaysia was affected the exchange rate of Ringgit Malaysia. The exchange rate and government expenditure display significant in forecasting inflation in Malaysia during the pandemic. The changes in exchange rate of Ringgit Malaysia has contributed to the effect of rising inflation in this country. According to the first quarter Malaysia Economic Outlook Report 2021, the exchange rate is the main element in explaining inflation in Malaysia since it is statistically significant. The COVID-19 pandemic also made the ringgit is quickly depreciating against the US dollar. As the ringgit is depreciated, it results in a lower exchange rate, thus resulting in a rise in the inflation rate. This exchange rate can be affect the price that pay for imported product. According to the Suryani and Mukarramah 2022, inflation during COVID-19 is also affecting the instability of ringgit, import costs, inflation, and the cost of living.
The implementation of the MCO has caused an increase in the unemployment rate. This is due to the decrease in the customer rate, causing employers to be unable to pay salaries and have to reduce workers. The impact of loss of jobs and sources of income is faced by the community. The reduction in income causes that purchasing power of the population for daily need to become increasingly limited. The MCO to some extent crippled the national economy and had a hard negative impact on the income of Malaysians. The Estimate and Employment Report in Malaysia in 2020 published by the Department of Statistics Malaysia reported that the unemployment rate increased to 5.3% in May 2020, involving a total of 826,100 individuals. The unemployment rate during this pandemic is highest since 1993. Average, the unemployment rate rose sharply by 1.3% from March to May. However, in June and beyond, the unemployment rate continued to decrease.
How consumer spending patterns changed during the COVID-19 pandemic? This change had significant effect on the economy and contribute to inflation in various ways. Let's talk about food expenditure. During the pandemic, spending on food became the most influential factor in consumer behavior. Younger generation in Malaysia, in particular, focus on essential items like food for survival. A survey by Base AI found that 63% of nations were stocking up on frozen fast food during the COVID-19 outbreak. So, what does this mean for inflation? This change in consumer behavior contributes to inflation mainly through supply and demand. As the demand for essentials went up, so did price. This inflation was further worsened by supply chain distribution affecting the availability of goods. Meanwhile, the drop in non-essential spending did not significantly counterbalance the inflation caused by the increased demand for essentials.
The conclusion is, inflation is a critical aspect of economic management influenced by various domestic and international factors. Malaysia's experience with inflation has been shaped by unique economic conditions and external factors, such as exchange rates and intra-Asian inflation. During the COVID-19 pandemic, inflation dynamics were further impacted by shifts in consumer behavior, particularly the increased demand for essential goods like food, which drove up prices amid supply chain disruptions. The depreciation of Malaysian ringgit against the US dollar played a significant role in rising inflation, as it increased the cost of imports and the overall cost of living. The Movement Control Order, or MCO, exacerbated the situation, leading to surge in unemployment, reduced income, and weakened purchasing power. These combined factors not only heightened inflation but also placed significant pressure on the Malaysian economy and its people. Understanding these elements is essential for developing strategies to manage inflation and foster economic stability in the future.